We're back here on CBS Sports HQ, where the NFL draft has come and passed. A lot of players went undrafted and signed shortly after. So to give us some of his favorites, we are joined by our own Emory Hunt. So before we get to your top 10, we'll start at the top, go 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. First, let's get your honorable mentions.
We have to start with the quarterback coming from America's University, the University of Louisiana, Ben Woolrich, going to the New England Patriots. I love that.
Okay.
This is a guy that helped lead that program, our program, to new heights. Fantastic quarterback. He should do fine in the preseason. He's right now QB3 on a depth chart. Good chance for him to make the roster. Sone Into out of Monmouth, 5'11", 225, 25 rushing touchdowns this past season, 35 in 2 years at Monmouth. Prior to that, he was at Harvard running the football. And Silas Bolden, the return specialist from Texas, going to Minnesota. Sone Into is going to the Ravens, but Silas Bolden is going to the Vikings. Tremendous elite level return specialist. You just want the ball in his hands. He was my number 8 slot receiver, so getting him here to handle that role is big for Minnesota. All
right, let's now dive deep into your top 10 undrafted free agent signings, and we will begin with the runners-up, the Chiefs picking up a tight end out of Clemson.
Jake Brennan was my number 1 flex tight end, so I see him as a vertical stretch type player, someone that can help out this offense and come in and be a complement to what they have in their tight end room. Kind of like Noah Gray, what they have, but this guy, to me, is very underrated, good athleticism, gets vertical quick on those safeties, and does a great job at making plays. Yes, he had some inconsistencies with drops, but for me, at this flex tight end position, I like his ability.
All right, let's get to my Commanders here. Just turning and burning this offseason, hoping to make another deep run in the playoffs under quarterback Jaden Daniels in year 2. They pick up some help, though, defensively.
It's going to hurt my jaw to speak positively of a UL Monroe football player, but you got to give credit where credit is due. Carlin Vigors, outstanding corner, was phenomenal at the Hula Bowl, 6'2", 200 pounds, jumped 37 inches on the vertical, does a great job in playing both man press but also off-man coverage. You look at what he did in the game against Texas, and we know they had a trio of wide receivers. We just talked about one is my undrafted honorable mention is Silas Bolden, but he did a fantastic job there. Great ball skills, was locking down receivers at the Hula Bowl. Going to the Commanders, I love this fit.
All right, number 8 here on your top 10 undrafted free agent signings. We got a receiver who's reuniting with his college quarterback in Cam Ward.
Xavier Restreo. I know he ran the slow 40 time. The word is he had a sprained ankle, probably shouldn't have run it, but he plays legitimately faster than whatever he would have time healthy. And you give Cam Ward some continuity, a guy that he trusts inside as a slot receiver. This was my number 5 slot receiver in the class. So when you look at the kind of relationship they had at Miami, where he went to in big moments, he went to Restreo, not the biggest guy, but that shows you the level of trust he has to go to a guy that's built like a running back that should find a way in his roster.
Let's get to number 7 here. The Vikings, a few times on this list of yours for the top 10 undrafted free agent signings. So they were busy when it comes to this. They pick up an edge rusher out of BYU, Tyler Batty. Tell us about him.
And Tyler Batty is someone that if you watched Colorado, you saw the bowl game and you saw them just like destroy the offensive line. Batty was the one that was all over the offensive line and all over Shedeur Sanders, and he was my number 2, 3, 4 defensive end. So he could play a 5 technique. He could play out on the edge. And Minnesota is doing a fantastic job both with the draft and also in these undrafted free agents, because a lot of these guys, they signed right away. So they got guys that could bring depth, that can help this team out right away defensively. I think the way he plays, the run and the pass, great Shrine Bowl game, tremendous fit for the Vikings.
All right, who comes in at number 6 on your list?
Kobe Bryant of the Falcons. I thought he was going to get drafted. I was impressed with his ball skills and instincts. You could visually see him annoy the receivers out there on the field. He has the ability right here, you see on film, not just in recovery, but the ball instincts and ball awareness. And if you can find the football, you're going to find yourself making a lot of plays as he did at Kansas. I thought he and Mello Dotson were the 2 top corners tandems in the Big 12. Not necessarily solo guys, because you have Travis Hunter, but those guys work well. Press guy, great Shrine Bowl, also good pickup here for the Falcons.
All right, let's dip our toes here into your top 5. And coming in at number 5, the Jets picking up an undrafted quarterback. That's Brady Cook out of Missouri.
If you followed us here on the Columbia Broadcast Station, you have seen many videos of me talking highly about Brady Cook. So I am ecstatic about America's quarterback going to the New York Jets. When you look at his game, he compares favorably to Andy Dalton. He's 6'2", 215, just like Andy Dalton. Ran for over 1,200 yards at Missouri, 21 rushing touchdowns. He was my number 4 quarterback prospect in his class. And you look at his completion percentage juxtaposed to his touchdown to interception ratio, got better every year in both standards. And he was a big reason why Missouri was competitive. He's a gamer. He has a good chance to make this roster. There's a deep depth chart they have, but the one concept they have within that depth chart is athleticism, and he has it in spades.
The Vikings pop up yet again on your top 10 undrafted free agent signings here, and this time picking up an offensive weapon.
Ben Urisk, if you just look at him when he was at Stanford, you're like, oh, this is the next in line of the great tight ends that they had that are receivers. He transfers to Georgia, and they just asked him to block. Good for his long-term prospects in terms of like being a blocker as well as a flex tight end, but you kind of want to see him continue to catch the football. He was someone, to me, I have it down here, number 3 H-back. So you go and watch how he played at Stanford, then you piece together what he did at Georgia. He has good all-around game, and I like the fact that the Vikings are still stockpiling talent where they are deep at. And here's the thing, if you're good in one area, make that good area great. And I like what they're doing here, both in the draft and undrafted market.
All right, getting into your top 3 now. I was wondering when we were going to see a running back on this list. Walk us through what the Patriots are getting.
And it's near the top, too. So
yeah,
you know me rather well.
I know.
Lan Larison out of UC Davis. And the reason why I love this kid is the fact that he has a dual threat game. He nearly went 1,000 and 1,000 this year, Jordan. He had over 1,000 yards rushing, nearly 1,000 yards receiving, had like 890 something receiving. And he reminds me a lot stylistically of Christian McCaffrey. When you're watching him dominate out there on the field, he glides, and that's whether it's running routes or when he hits the outside perimeter, he makes guys miss it in the hole, inside and also outside. Fantastic talent. And it's not surprising that he ends up in New England. They love the versatility type guys. They got a good one here in Lan Larison.
Yeah, we know one pretty well as well. That's Damian Harris. Christian McCaffrey, that is one name to be compared to. I absolutely love it. Let's get to second on your list here, an offensive tackle, Holland Pierce out of Rutgers.
One of the 2 6'8" tackles that I love in this class, Pierce and Ozzie Trapillo. Trapillo got drafted to the Bears in the 2nd round. Pierce ends up in Philadelphia, which is fantastic because they also drafted my number 2 offensive tackle in Cam Williams. But this is an underrated guy who, at 6'8", former walk-on, got the good knee bend that like a 6'5" tackle. So when you think about what he does really well, he's able to get out there on the perimeter. He's able to anchor down. He's a left tackle at 6'8" with good knee bend, and he was my number 4 tackle. So I like the fact that the Eagles drafted my number 2 and then picked up my number 4 as an undrafted free agent. We said this about Philadelphia. They do a great job of always planning a year ahead. So we may not see him this year. We may not see Cam Williams this year. And then next year, they probably both will end up starting along that offensive line.
Giving him some time to develop there. All right, coming in at number 1 on your list, an offensive guard, Willie Lampkin, headed to the Rams. Why is he the top of your list?
Because I love the story. First of all, he's a 5'10" offensive lineman that started at Coastal Carolina, dominated there, and people will say, oh, that whole offensive line was short. He goes to the Senior Bowl, dominates there by transferring to North Carolina. And when I'm watching his film, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to see something that's going to make me say this is why he's not an NFL player. And all he did was dominate. Think about this, Jordan. Anytime you saw a big run from Omari and Hampton, it was coming right down to the A-gap. Who's blocking that? The center, Willie Lampkin. So even if it's not along the offensive line or as a fullback, this guy has value, wrestling background. He was my number 1 center in the draft class. I could care less about his height. It's about how you play. Size is not a skill. He was the best interior offensive lineman, I thought, within this group at that position. So the Rams got themselves not only a guy that could start center or guard, but even as a 6th offensive lineman or even the fullback.
All right, Emory Hunt, there you have it, his top 10 undrafted free agent signings. Here is another look at some of the names that we will all be keeping an eye on as they take on the next level, headed to the NFL as the NFL draft now in the books. Some good names to keep your eyes on next season.